Hello, good evening. I'm Roger Johnson. Welcome to North West Tonight. Thank you for your company. Our top story: transport, healthcare, housing and submarines. What were the specifics of today's spending review for us all in the North West? We'll talk live to a senior government minister at Westminster. Also tonight, 3 teenagers appear in court charged with killing 14-year-old Ibrahima as he walked to play football with his brother.
Ricky Sawyer, can I please ask, are you breaking the law?
The moment we confronted a man carrying out botched Brazilian butt lift treatments. He's now been banned.
I ran to turn him round and he was covered in blood all over the place, and it was like he was almost struggling to get the filler in.
Sweets for my sweet, sugar for my honey, I'll never ever.
From the Cavern to a farewell gig at Glastonbury, the 60s hitmakers The Searchers call it a day after nearly 70 years on the road.
Well, it's been a gorgeous day today, but very humid, and that will mean thunderstorms tomorrow. Join me at the end of the programme. I'll have the full forecast for you.
Well, as you may well have heard, the Chancellor was spending money today, hundreds of billions of pounds. Defence, social housing, education and the NHS all saw their budgets boosted. And there were some announcements specific to the North West, although Rachel Reeves says that we will have to wait a little longer to hear about Northern Powerhouse Rail. That's the proposed new rail line linking Liverpool and Manchester. That'll be in the next couple of weeks. We did learn, though, about another rail project. She announced an additional £3.5 billion for the Transpennine route upgrade. That's the project to electrify the line between Manchester and Leeds. £2.5 billion was earmarked for new small nuclear reactors. The Chancellor also confirmed, interestingly, that nuclear-approved land near Sellafield will be freed up for private investment. That suggests that one of the new reactors may be going there. In the defence sector, we were told that £6 billion would be spent on upgrading nuclear submarine production. That, of course, includes Barrow, following the news this month that 12 new submarines will be built at the town's shipyard. And, tantalisingly, Southport Pier, which has been closed since 2022, is set to be restored as part of a community growth initiative, although we don't quite know how much money it has yet been given. We will get reaction from Westminster shortly. First, though, let's head to Accrington. The government wants to stimulate growth, as we've heard, not just in our big cities, but also in the smaller towns, which often feel that they get overlooked. So our political editor, Annabel Tiffin, has spent the day in East Lancashire.
Accrington is a town built on its industrial past, today looking for a prosperous future. All eyes then on the Chancellor and what she might have to offer towns like these.
To invest in Britain's security, in Britain's health, and to grow Britain's economy so that working people are better off.
Yeah. Cotton and textiles were the old industry. Today, Emerson and Renwick make production equipment for manufacturing goods. After a turbulent few years with COVID and more recent tax hikes, they now want stability.
The signs are good. I think it will just be about how that now translates into operational reality and the chance to secure some of these contracts as they start to appear, hopefully.
The Chancellor said she wanted the renewal of Britain to be felt everywhere. So there was money for housing, transport, education, the NHS, things that are used by everybody. But does the talk of departmental budgets and changes to fiscal rules mean anything to people who live here?
It always seems to be down south that get it, but they seem to come up to Birmingham and then they forget us. You know, we don't exist.
Last 18 months or so, shut down Accrington Victoria Hospital. And we need the people who were in it, who ran it, the doctors and nurses. You know, so I would spend more money on that.
What can the government in Westminster do for you, for Accrington?
So, yeah, what would be nice if they could invest in kind of invest in some shops for locals like us, where we have to go to Blackburn. We'd rather just come down the street and come to the high street here and have everything in one place. But it's just, it's becoming a bit of a ghost town, really.
The town centre is having a revamp. £20 million from the previous Conservative government, matched by £20 million from this Labour government. But this is one of the most deprived areas of England, with an acute shortage of social housing.
We're very hopeful that money around affordable housing, maybe transport, maybe reviving our homes to high streets would be coming to help us here in Hindburn.
Angela Rayner's department's going to get £39 billion for affordable and social housing. If you get some of that, are you ready to build those social houses?
We have got a big, ambitious housing target that we have to meet now through the Labour government, and that would help us enormously.
At the recent local elections, Reform UK took control of Lancashire County Council, and it won the parliamentary seat of Runcorn and Helsby. This spending review could be seen as a crucial moment for Labour to reset and re-establish itself in its red wall heartlands. Annabelle Tiffin, BBC North West Tonight in Accrington.
That then the view today in East Lancashire. Let's head to Westminster. Kevin Fitzpatrick is there for us. I know you've got a guest to speak to in a moment, Kev, but what's the reaction been to the spending review there?
Well, this is the Labour Party, 11 months after being elected, setting out its stall for the years ahead. It's going to be spending billions of pounds more than the last government intended to, borrowing nearly £200 billion to spend on investments, all with the intention of kick-starting growth in the economy. I've been asking the Conservatives and the Lib Dems in our region what they made of it.
Every single measure of the economy is down since Labour came into office. Unemployment is up, borrowing costs are up, pretty much every economic indicator is going the wrong way, and that is because they're stifling growth, they're spending too much, they're borrowing too much, and we all know even more tax rises coming off the back of that jobs tax are just round the corner.
Because the thing that worries me, when the government talks about the north, generally speaking, they basically mean the M62 corridor. They mean Liverpool, Manchester, Leeds. Sometimes they might mean Newcastle. But what they never seem to think about is the likes of Cumbria, County Durham, Northumberland. So let's see. Yes, they maybe have changed the rules so they can invest in the north. There's no evidence from today they're actually going to.
Well, I'm now with Lucy Powell, the MP for Manchester Central and also Leader of the House. So loads of hype building up to this. Did it live up to expectations?
Absolutely. This is all great news for our region. What we're setting out today is a big programme of renewal, and we desperately need that in our region. Renewal with more jobs, more investment in much needed infrastructure, transport, skills and the jobs of the future, and also in social and affordable housing. So this is really great news for our region, I think.
Billions of pounds more being spent, but the Tories and Reform say inevitably you're going to have to raise taxes.
Well, look, we already set the budget for this spending review, so that was set in the budget last year. So we took the difficult decisions that not everyone agreed with about where the money was going to come from. So the envelope, if you like, was set, and what today was about was where that spending was going to get allocated. And what we can see from what the Chancellor set out today is that a lot of that spending is going to get allocated to our region, to the things that we need for that renewal, in new trains, buses, skills, housing, and real new jobs of the future as well, all coming to our region as a result.
What about towns like Accrington? Are people there going to see any of this?
Well, absolutely critical to this Labour government's agenda is to make sure that the benefits of what we're doing are felt in every town, in every city, across our region and indeed across the country. So yes, absolutely, places like Accrington will feel the benefits of extra funding going to their local area, with improved transport across the region, with skills, with connectivity to those jobs of the future. And we've got lots of opportunities in our region, whether that's in nuclear power, in nuclear weapons, in Barrow, and a whole range of other things.
And just finally, no confirmation of new rail infrastructure in the north, but the Chancellor did allude to some news on Northern Rail, Crossrail for the North, whatever you want to call it. Is that going to happen?
Yes, she mentioned today, and there'll be more details of that coming next week, but a big change that the Chancellor...
Yes, it's going to happen, sorry.
Yeah, there is going to be some more announcements on the Northern Powerhouse Rail coming in the coming weeks. And we've also made changes to this thing called the Green Book, which was sort of stopping investment in our region because you had to show the benefits of any investment, and that meant it was all going to London all the time. And so now we're going to see that rail investment coming to our region.
OK, thanks for talking to us. That's Lucy Powell, one of our MPs, a Labour MP, of course. The government has set out its spending plans. It'll take weeks and probably days ahead to find out the detail of where exactly that money will go.
Kevin, thank you very much. Kevin Fitzpatrick live there at Westminster for us. Now, a court has heard that a 14-year-old boy was stabbed to death in Manchester on Sunday as he walked to play football in the park. Ibrahima Sek died from a single stab wound in New Moston on Sunday. 3 schoolboys appeared in court this morning charged with his murder, and Yunus Muller was there.
Ibrahima Sek was 14, a well-liked young boy who was funny, caring and hard-working, says family. He died last Sunday after an attack close to the Fairway Inn pub in the New Moston area of Manchester. Today, 3 teenagers charged with his murder and carrying a bladed article appeared before Manchester Youth Court. None of the accused can be named for legal reasons. 2 of the boys are aged 14, another is aged 16. Their families were in court to hear the teenagers confirm their names and addresses. Rebecca Macaulay-Addison, prosecuting, said Ibrahima was on his way to a local park to play football with his brothers and friends when a group approached them. There was an altercation and a scuffle. She said a post-mortem concluded Ibrahima died as a result of a single stab wound. Detectives say they've carried out an extensive amount of work to try and get the answers Ibrahima's family need, and they remain in contact with them as this investigation progresses. Greater Manchester Police say a 37-year-old woman and a 14-year-old girl who were arrested on suspicion of assisting an offender have been released on bail pending further inquiries. As far as the wider investigation is concerned, police are still appealing for eyewitness accounts, but also footage including doorbell or dashcam. The 3 teenagers accused of Ibrahima's murder will next appear at Manchester Crown Court. Yunus Muller, BBC Northwest Tonight, Manchester.
Now, there was a serious disturbance in Salford in Greater Manchester this afternoon. The police were called to Lower Broughton, where a group of 50 to 60 young people had blocked off a road. Videos on social media show a car being driven dangerously, as you can see. A 16-year-old girl was arrested on suspicion of assaulting a police officer. A police car was damaged and another vehicle was set on fire. It's believed that the incident was linked to the recent deaths of 2 teenagers who were killed in a crash on Lower Broughton Road. People in parts of Cheshire are set to face new limits on the number of times they can use council waste tips. The rules would mean that in Cheshire West and Chester, residents will be capped at using the tips 30 times a year. The council says it's trying to clamp down on unauthorised use of the tips by businesses. The Everton football manager David Moyes received his OBE today in a ceremony at Windsor Castle. The 62-year-old received it for services to football. He's currently in his 2nd stint, of course, in charge at Everton, having also managed locally at Manchester United and at Preston.
I think more importantly, I've been really fortunate through my career that I've worked for some really good people, played with some brilliant players over my time as well, which have helped me, and managed a lot of really good players as well. So I think you need a little bit of good fortune, and certainly on my journey I've had plenty of that.
Well, here are some of the other stories that people are reading this evening from BBC News. And a man has been arrested on suspicion of drink driving after a van smashed through a wall into a house near Nantwich. It happened at Broomhall just before midnight last night. Alderhay Children's Hospital has been given a £4 million performance bonus for its A&E waiting times. Trusts in other areas got bonuses as well for quick ambulance responses. And an ornate chair, which was rescued from Mardale before it was flooded to create the Haweswater Reservoir, has turned up in Sussex. Its owners would like to return it to the lakes. You can find out more at bbc.co.uk/local news, or, of course, as always, download and take a look on the BBC News app. Now, a man who calls himself a beauty consultant has been banned from carrying out cosmetic treatments in England and Wales. His name's Ricky Sawyer, this is him. He did non-surgical Brazilian butt lifts in pop-up clinics, often here in the northwest. But following an investigation by Trafford Council, the court in Manchester has now imposed a civil injunction, and that bans him from operating anywhere, as Shona Elliott reports.
Hello, darling, you okay? This is Ricky Sawyer, filmed by the BBC on hidden cameras earlier this year. He's best known for offering non-surgical Brazilian butt lifts, or BBLs, by injecting large amounts of derma filler into people's buttocks. One of his most high-profile clients is Katie Price.
I can't believe that procedure did not hurt.
But the reality of this treatment is much darker. The BBC has spoken to nearly 40 women who say they suffered severe complications, including sepsis and tissue death. One of them is Ashley from Liverpool.
There was a point in it where I ran to turn him round and he was covered in blood. All over the place, and it was like he was almost struggling to get like the filler in.
What kind of pain did it feel like?
Like a stabbing pain, like someone stabbing me. There was a lot of filler going in. It was 1,000 ml, so there was a lot of pressure, and I felt like he was struggling to get it in. As I say, on the way home, the pain just gradually got worse as the anaesthetic wore off. The pain just got beyond belief. I thought I was going to die in the back of that car.
Footage from inside Mr Sawyer's clinic show him offering to inject 1,000 millilitres of derma filler at a rented office block on the edge of London. Ricky Sawyer, can I please ask, are you breaking the law?
Could you please leave?
When questioned about this, Mr Sawyer refused to comment. The BBC's findings, along with dozens of other statements and images, were used by Trafford Council to bring a civil case against Mr Sawyer. Their lawyer, James Parry, argued that Mr Sawyer posed a serious risk to the public.
The evidence that I was given was of the cases where it had gone wrong, and that involved extreme swelling, and in one case a very large wound that had emerged on a person's thigh, which in my opinion was worse than some of the wounds I've seen during my career from serious assaults, stabbings and the like.
The girl James Parry is referring to is Louise Moller. She nearly died from infection following a BBL by Mr Sawyer. Her mother Janet was told by a surgeon that her daughter only had moments to live.
So she said, they're preparing me for a surgery and I've refused. So why have you refused? So she said, the surgeon cannot tell me what procedure is going to follow, and he could be amputating flesh, muscle or my leg. He told me that Louise was the sickest person in the hospital. He had to operate immediately. If he didn't start the operation in 10 minutes, her blood pressure was dropping at a rapid rate, her temperature was rising, the infection was spreading down her leg. He said they wouldn't be able to operate. So I said, well, how long has she got to change her mind? And he said, I'm going to give you 10 minutes.
Janet provided moving testimony of her daughter's experience to Trafford Council, which helped secure the injunction. Ricky Sawyer has now been banned from carrying out or arranging any cosmetic treatments until May 2028. It comes with the power of arrest. If Mr Sawyer breaks the order, police can detain him instantly with no warrant needed. For Janet, this is the closure her family needs.
I could feel the pain that the families and the people were feeling. And it was upsetting me every day that this person was still able to operate and nobody was stopping him. To hear this news was just, I feel like a weight's been taken off me, and the weight is relief that he cannot operate now in England and Wales, or if he does, there will be consequences.
Ricky Sawyer has 21 days to appeal.
That report, I couldn't remember who it was, but it was a fantastic report. Sorry, I was going to tell you who it was that did that. It was Shona Elliott who did that report for us, my apologies, into that Brazilian butt lift story. Now, last night we told you about the rugby league legend Billy Boston and the knighthood that he received at Buckingham Palace. Former Wigan player, of course. Billy now lives, or should I say Sir Billy, now lives with dementia, and he's the first rugby league player to receive the honour. Well, today the family were back at home in Wigan, and although Sir Billy couldn't take part in the interview today, Ian Haslam spoke to his wife and his son about their...
Tell me, what was yesterday like then?
Unbelievable. Something that you will never, ever forget.
Yesterday was absolutely amazing. I thought the King was brilliant with him. I thought my dad, who has his moments, was brilliant yesterday, and he really enjoyed it. And it just sums up his career. It's just a big thing to finish his career off.
Well done, Billy.
He actually said to the King said to him, he said, I played rugby in the army. He said, but it's not as dangerous as the sport you do. And my dad turned around to him and said, no, your job's a lot dangerous than mine. and everybody just erupted into laughter. On the way out, he just leaned into me and said, that's the biggest honour I've ever received. And I was quite taken aback, because normally he wouldn't have understand what's going on. That was a big thing for me when he said that to me yesterday on the way out. And I turned around to the girls, I said, did you hear that? No. So that's just my memory, so that's okay.
Clubmate Boston, whom Irvine cannot hold by one leg. Early Boston Finn's beat is out of the way, beats a diving...
It is a huge achievement getting a knighthood, obviously, but I think there's a feeling in rugby league and across the country, really, that this has been far too long in coming, both for Sir Billy and for rugby league in general.
It's a long time coming, too long. 130 years for a rugby league player to get a knighthood. I just think it's scandalous. I think it's scandalous, I really do. I just think that should have happened. And in my dad's case, obviously he's got the dementia now and he's 90 years of age. If he'd have got this 10 years ago, when the dementia just started, he could understand what was going on and why he got it and how he got it, and he could enjoy it.
And he scores!
We said about Kevin Sinfield, you know, doing all these marathons.
He's just a superhuman. It's not just that, he's just put that disease on the map, and he's put that disease and he's made people aware of what's going on, and I think Kevin, he definitely should get an knighthood.
Look at that. Sir Billy Boston.
I'm just glad for him, you know, because he has been a stalwart at Wigan and everywhere. Everybody knows him. Everybody, even kids. Children come up to him, you know, with the dads. Can we have a photograph with him? Even in Tesco, he's having photographs taken, you know. And I said, oh, it's lovely to be remembered like that. I wish I was remembered like that.
Billy Boston. And when we say legend, understatement.
The commentary of Dave Woods there. That was Stephen Boston and his mum Joan, of course now Lady Boston, talking about Sir Billy. Unfortunately, as we said, he's unwell, is living with dementia, but was unable to take part in the interview. But it was great to hear from them, and we wish them all the very best. Now, weather with Molly in a moment, but first, the Searchers are thought to be the world's longest-running live band. They were formed in Liverpool in 1957, and their hits topped the charts on both sides of the Atlantic. But later this month, their 68-year-old story comes to a spectacular finale on stage at the Glastonbury Festival. Lindsay Prosser took the band's founder, John McNally, back to where it all began, the Cavern Club in Liverpool.
Sweets for my sweet, sugar for my honey. I'll never ever let you go.
The Searchers' rise to fame was swift. Their first hit, Sweets for My Sweet, topped the charts and success in America followed. Over the years, band members have changed, but John McNally has stayed a Searcher and has toured for over 60 years.
What's kept you going?
The joy of music, I think, more than anything else. Our fans are ridiculous. I mean, they're so devoted, and also they follow us everywhere.
The Searchers started alongside the Beatles in Liverpool's original Cavern Club. Their success took them on worldwide tours.
You must have met some amazing people along the way.
Well, all amazing people I've met have been all musos. I've met most of them. So, like, the only ones I missed was the one I wanted to go and see, was Buddy Holly.
If you want that love to last forever.
We were told all the businesses in London, all the show people, blah, 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 all the agents in London. So, OK, we'll go down there. I didn't like it one bit. Myself and Mick, who was in the band then, we liked football. So we came home to play five-a-side with the lads. So we didn't stay in London too long. We just had to go and play five-a-side with the lads on Mondays and Thursdays.
Many musicians have cited the Searchers' unique guitar sound as a key influence. But in the early 70s, times were tough, and the band had to take a risk to continue to pursue their love of music.
We decided to take a chance, put a bigger PA, put 2 roadies in, some effects, smoke machines and all that kind of stuff, and we go into the theatres. The first few was a disaster. We were losing thousands of pounds, and then suddenly, a couple of weeks later, it happened. We were making a profit. So, and since then we've worked all the way through.
The band intended to retire, but playing at Glastonbury is an invitation they couldn't refuse.
Our agent came on, he says, will you ever start again? I said, no, we're too old. We'll come back and do something special, something really we've never done before. And what happens? He rings me up and says, Glastonbury's offered you it. What? I said, I spoke to all the lads. We want to do it, yeah. So I said yes.
Lindsay Prosser, BBC North West Tonight, Liverpool.
They just couldn't say no. Of course they couldn't. The Searchers' farewell performance at Glastonbury, interestingly, we'll see the generations collide because on stage before them is Danny Harrison, who is George Harrison's son. Interesting. Right, let's move on to the weather. Molly is here. It's quite simple. Your dress has been a bit like the sky, hasn't it?
It has been. It's been so lovely today, but it's not going to last. I'll talk about that in a moment. But let's focus on the positive because it has been gorgeous today, as Roger said. Beautiful scenes in Cumbria, and then we have Little and Large here, enjoying the scenes in the Wirral as well. It has been very warm indeed, very humid, but it is going to stay humid into tomorrow. We've had highs of around 26 degrees today, but a little bit less than that tomorrow. But you'll see there'll be an introduction of some thunder by the end of the day. And this is why, so high pressure is in charge. So we're drawing up this warm southerly breeze that we've had today, and that is essentially going to clash with this low pressure system here that we have out west, and that is going to cause a little bit of activity over the next few days with the risk of thunderstorms. But not tonight, so you can see it is going to stay dry and fine. There is a chance to see the strawberry moon, so if it is clear where you are, do take a look up and send your photos in. But a muggy night, we're looking at an average temperature of around 12 degrees Celsius. So tomorrow it's going to start off positive, but then you can see it will start to cloud over and you'll get these showers. They could become quite heavy, and where you see the green there, that signifies thunderstorms. So do keep an eye out for any warnings. But you can see temperature-wise, we still have an average temp of around 23 degrees Celsius, so still feeling quite warm. Bit cooler though on the Isle of Man, and fair few thunderstorms on the Isle of Man. And that humidity is going to continue into Friday, so we are going to have some more thunderstorms at the back end of Friday, and then as we head into the weekend, it is going to turn a little bit drier and brighter. But yeah, lots of wet weather really, Roger,
so
over the next few days.
it was a short-lived return of summer then, wasn't it?
A little bit, yeah, but you know what do you expect? It is the northwest.
It was well, it's true. It was glorious. It was really warm.
It was really nice today. Yeah.
Molly, thank you. Steve's here with the late news for you at 10:30. And if you have forsaken the sunshine this evening to join us, thank you as always for watching. Have a great evening.